Coach, what's it kind of been like since you've returned to practice, and how have you guys looked, and with the short preparation time before this first game?
Yeah, so we ended up with about four realistic practice days after missing the 14 days, and it's uncharted waters. So just kind of you write up a practice plan on how you think the group will be coming out of a 2-week shutdown, but there's obviously there's no roadmap for this, so you just got to be able to adapt. We tried to get them as much live reps as we could, while also not pushing them too hard and put them at higher risk with injury. So it's a blessing to get the opportunity during a time like this, when so many people are suffering. It's a blessing to be able for us to get on the court, and do what we love to do, and hopefully become a great distraction for people during a really hard time.
Joe, Zone? Joe,
Dan, after 2 weeks, where did you have to do the most catch-up?
Yeah, really all across the board. Joe, it's really, when you miss 12 practices at the point that we did, it was like we were just kind of, working our way through a lot of the basics, which is like transition defense, early transition offense, a couple of execution things, versus man. We were, starting then to work against zone and pressure. And right as we were kind of turning to, getting away from a lot of the basic things that you just must do to have a chance, and got to the point where you're working on more of the nuances, or the more nuanced part of basketball. We got the shutdown. So pretty much our focus on this, really the last couple of days, was just to try to really work on our defense, try to make sure that our culture and how hard we play, and our togetherness, because it's going to be choppy. It's not always going to be pretty, but we've got to be tough. We've got to defend, and our culture's got to be there to carry us while the basketball is ugly.
Dave Borges.
Yeah, Dan, what kind of stuff were you able to do? Was the team able to, I know there were no team activities, but how do they kind of stay in shape, in basketball shape? Did you, what kind of activities were they able to do, or did they do to kind of stay in as good shape as possible over those 14 days?
Yeah, I mean, one day when the weather, kind of permitted it, and we were out of the initial, total shutdown, they got out onto the field hockey field and did some running, and basically all they were really permitted to do beyond that would be your calisthenics, just sliding and running the court, in the half court, because they couldn't cross over half court. So it was jump rope, just some old school stuff. And you know, and Coach Mike did the best job he could with it. But there was no, you know, there were coaches. We weren't allowed to do anything with it.
Charlotte?
Hey, Dan. Thanks for the time. What did you see out of those 4 practices that made you comfortable to play the game tomorrow and Friday? You had talked a lot about that, that comfort level and the injury worries. So I was kind of wondering what that specifically was.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, you know, the number one, we have some depth, which, you know, which helps. You know, if we were as short as we were last year, like where we were playing 7, you know, having 7 or potentially only 8 guys available after, you know, we had the injuries to Cook and Tyler, you know, I don't think we would have attempted to play the opener. You know, because I think in all fairness, you probably, when you're coming out of a 2-week quarantine, you probably, realistically, I think you probably need a week. You know, but, you know, I would say that I was influenced by the players. You know, I think that these guys, you know, early on when we got into, you know, first practice together, you know, that they, you know, they desperately want to start playing. And so our depth and the players desperately wanting to play were probably the 2 key things.
Dom?
Hey, Dan, when did you make the call that you were going to play on Wednesday? Was that after the first practice, after the second? You know, how long did it take you to make that call? And then just kind of unrelated, have you had a chance to talk to Gino and maybe share some of your experiences with him now that he's going to have to go through the same thing?
I'm sorry, Dom. I just got distracted by Sean Pregano's screen. I just got
Okay,
lost.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Coach. So it's all good, brother.
That is Hey,
Okay.
you lost me. Hey, Phil, what was the first day what was our first practice back? Do you know, was that
It was Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
I would say, you know, probably Friday, after Friday's practice. You know, we probably felt like it was, you know, likely to play the opener. But then, you know, Saturday we were, you know, Saturday we scrimmaged and brought in officials, and, you know, that gave me the comfort to move forward with it. You know, but we're still evaluating, in particular, you know, the second week. You know, probably the scariest thing is obviously you get a 2-week shutdown. You get 4, maybe 5 days of real practice, and then 5 games in 11 days. So we're, you know, we felt good about the opener, but we're still kind of, you know, evaluating probably that second week.
I was going to, have you had a chance to talk to Gino about, you know, what you went through, and has he asked you about it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of in this, you know, situation where, you know, we've met and talked a lot really since the summer about everything that's gone on. And, yeah, so it's, you know, he sent me a text while I was in practice and I just got to my phone when I got out of there, you know, wishing me good luck tomorrow and you know, let me know he'll be watching. So I appreciated that. But yeah, I'll definitely reach out for him on, you know, on the drive home, and, you know, and check in with him. You know, he's one of the greats, so I don't know how much help he needs from me, but I could certainly give him a good sense of what it's going to look like those first couple of days out after the 2 weeks. It's humbling.
Neil?
Dan, how much do you remember about playing against Danielle back in the day? And have you gotten to know him a little bit since he's gotten into coaching and you're become contemporaries, sort of?
Yeah, I go back with Danielle to the AAU circuit when there weren't that many teams, and so we got a chance to know him there. And then we were on the Olympic Festival team together. playing for Mike Jarvis, and you know, we were pretty, you know, we were pretty inseparable during that trip to LA, and you know, he gave me a bunch of problems when I played against him in the Big East. You know, there's some videos circulating that aren't very flattering where I was the back guy thinking a 1-3-1, and he caught the lob on, you know, and I was definitely in the vicinity. So, you know, Danielle, you know, then in the coaching ranks, I've gotten a chance to know him. I'm just, you know, Danielle is, you know, he's one of the all-time great, you know, he's one of the, you know, true greats that ever played here. He's one of the first greats that made the decision to come here. He was a trailblazer, and along with obviously Coach Calhoun and Chris Smith and the late Cliff Robinson, and you know, so many great players. I don't want to miss any, but like he was one of the first big time guys to make UConn their home. So ultimate respect as a GOAT here, and just you know, he's a great basketball guy, and worked for a friend of mine, Nate Oates at Buffalo, and every time I see him, it's always a great chance to catch up.
Bill Paxton?
Hey, Dan. In terms of availability for players tomorrow, is everybody available but Cook and maybe Brendan, or what's your roster going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, physically, you know, from a health standpoint, we look really good right now. You know, Cook's the one guy that's going to be, you know, is going to be out. You know, this one with the Achilles, but you know, he's even back to playing 5-on-5 right now, strictly in the half court. But he had a really good day today, and potentially next week he could progress to more full court play, 5-on-5, which is remarkable. His recovery has been, it's just been remarkable. So, and then Brendan, who we had some concerns about, just because it was a 3-month injury and a surgery, and something that, you know, obviously began during COVID when he was home, but you know, we're pretty healthy going into this minus a Cook.
Danny Barletta?
Thanks.
Yeah, hey coach. Just so with everything going on, have you been able to prepare for Central and Hartford this week? Like, what have you been able to do, and what are you kind of expecting from the two teams?
Yeah, I mean, you're going off of, you know, there's no exhibition game, there's no secret scrimmage where you're able to get some roster information, even though you more than likely, you know, can't get the video from the closed scrimmages. So you're basically flying blind on this one. And, you know, you're obviously going off of watching, you know, their later games from last year, their high major games from earlier in the season. You know, really love their perimeter guys, love their guards in particular, Outlaw, and Newkirk and Krishnan, and Baker, all really four really capable perimeter players that can really play off the dribble, get to the rim, create their own shot. So those guys are all, you know, dangerous guys. You know, really, Outlaw and Krishnan in particular are going to be some really, really tough guys to guard for our perimeter people. You know, and I like their front court guys too. You know, Wallace is, you know, real long and athletic and lefty and talented, and you know, Wilson is a guy with a lot of ability that can play inside and out. You know, they're you know, and they've got some guards that are new junior college guys that we obviously have nothing on. So, you know, there's personnel stuff that you could talk about, but there's really, you have no idea tactically what anyone's going to do, because you have nothing.
Gavin, Keith?
You've always kind of fed off your crowds at home and not being able to have a big crowd. What kind of adjustment do you think that's going to be for your players to kind of bring their own energy?
Yeah, I think I think home or road with no crowd, is almost meaningless. Minus the fact that you're familiar in your surroundings, but really the crowd is the separator. And you can see it in obviously the NFL with different sports where road teams were having historic success. Yeah, I think just it changes the game. It changes sports when there's no fans and there's no crowd. It takes a huge element out of sports. But for us, I think that we have a lively bench. We have a lively, head coach and coaching staff and guys that love the game and play with a lot of passion. So we'll be doing our deal during the game.
Dave, Borges.
Yeah, you've talked about how some tough choices you have to make in terms of starting lineup, playing time, things like that you're going to have this year. Have guys sort of separated themselves a little bit? Are you pretty comfortable with at least the starting lineup and the kind of rotations you're looking for? I mean, I know a lot of things have to transpire still, but as far as like a starting lineup tomorrow night, are you?
Yeah, I think.
I don't know if you want to reveal that right now, but.
Dave, it's give you guys some more time to speculate. So I would say, what really the timing of, I think that 2 week, like the 2 weeks that we missed were, we were probably another week to 10 days, probably another week, probably another 5 days of practice away from, from really creating like a top 7, which would be our blue team, and then our gray team, which would be, 8 through, Matt and Andrew, which would be like, a true second team. And, we went right into the shutdown. So the pause. So that really, right as we were there was separation and people emerging, we went into that. Then when we got back in, we obviously had to pace things, and the time away hurt the young guys the most. I mean, it's hard enough to get freshmen ready to play with the full allotment of practices, but taking away 12 practices from freshmen, that's tough. So that hurt our younger guys and it hurt the overall, it just hurts the chemistry. But, they've had since Thursday, and what they did prior to that first practice back to, to establish themselves into roles. So I think we have a good plan going into tomorrow night, and guys have earned where they are.
Wayne, Norman. Wayne, you're muted.
Wayne, what's up, Wayne?
Hi, Dan. Last year, Christian Patel was your three-point gunner. Who fills that role this year?
I think we'll get that hopefully from multiple people, Wayne. I think Tyler, obviously bringing him back into the fold, is a guy that has got the capability to shoot 40 plus from three. I think James shot it at a pretty high clip, and we've been preaching to him to rely more on his perimeter shot because it is, it's one that he's really successful with. We think RJ will be able to, really help us from three. We think Brendan will be a guy that has the chance, like with those other guys, to be like high 30s, hopefully into the low 40s from three. For us, obviously we need Tyrese to make some. We need Tyrese to be a guy that you have to guard out there. We need Gaffney to be a guy that you have to guard out there. And, so I don't think that's our greatest concern right now. Probably our greatest concern right now would be like who is that? who the guy that could kind of replace the tone that Christian set for us in terms of how hard he played. Because before Christian started making shots, the last, half of the last year, the last, third of the season, he was still setting a tone with the motor, with the toughness, with the intensity. So hopefully Isaiah can give us that and be the, the guy that likes the, lights the spark, so to speak.
Charlotte, another question?
Yeah, Dan, I just wanted to follow up. You talked about the second week of games, specifically those Bubbleville ones. When do you think you'll have a better idea of if you guys are ready for those or if that's going to be played?
Halftime tomorrow? No. No, I mean, listen, there's just a lot going on. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, just in terms of, the whole landscape of scheduling and how quickly it can change. So, our only, the only thing that we're, really looking at is, again, when you miss 2 straight weeks and you get just 4, maybe 5 practices, because basically your first practice out, you can't do much. 5 games in 11 days after 2 weeks off. You have to really think about your players, and are you putting them in a position that isn't good for their, are they at greater risk for health, and injury from overuse? We'll know more. I think, Thursday morning when these guys play their first game, just how they respond to that. We'll be able to, I think, move forward with a better sense.
Dom?
Yeah, and I know sometimes it seems like 100 years ago since you played and last, and sometimes it seems like it just happened, but there's no sense of time through all this. But there was so much anticipation, expectation, excitement going into this season, the Big East, the team that you put together, year 3. As you start the season on the eve of that first game, how much of that do you still have? Do you still have that excitement, that feeling that you expected to have? Or has all the turmoil doused any of it, or does it still feel to you the way you expected it to feel last March?
Yeah, no, this doesn't. Folks that don't coach, that don't, folks that aren't actively or currently coaching a team or playing on a team, they might not understand this because they're not connected that way emotionally to a group. But no, it's different. This is not, it's not the same feel. Everyone's excited to play. I mean, we're excited to play a game. I mean, this is what we love to do. This is our purpose. I mean, this is like, we live for this. I mean, but yeah, I mean, the feel is completely different. It's surreal. At least the non-conference piece. I think there's so much uncertainty for these players and for the staff with games getting canceled and checking social media to see who's in or who's out, like getting to the day of the game and basically waiting for the tests to come back to see if you're going to play. But I do think that, once we get through this non-conference, slate here, and I think once the Big East games come, Dom, I think there's going to be, I think that excitement about like conference games and Big East games, and I think we'll become a lot more comfortable in some of the uncertainty here. So I think obviously we're excited to take the floor, but it's definitely surreal. And I think December 11th with the St. John's game, I think all that anticipation and juice will be probably more normal.
Roger, Cleveland?
Hey, Coach, I know after only 4 or 5 practices, it's hard to get a feel for the team, but has anybody really stood out for you and you're thinking to yourself, wow, he's really ready to go?
I mean, without jinxing, I mean, but, Book Knight's been, he's like foaming at the mouth right now to get out there. We've tried to kind of settle him down because he's going like 110 miles per hour. I know RJ just having missed so much time, I know he's dying to get out there. So, I just think collectively, the group, just collectively as a group, these guys just want to go out and play.
Mike Mavrodakis, last one.
Yep. Hi, Coach. I was just curious, who's taken the biggest leap so far now that you've gone through all the preseason on the roster?
Yeah. I would probably say a lot of these guys are what we thought they were. I think a lot of the returning players, I think, we've been really impressed with, Adama's, just his whole makeup, his whole, his working character, or whatever you want to call it, his competitiveness, determination. I would say probably the biggest surprise for me, I would say is probably a Cook's health. That to me, that's the one thing that's probably stood out to me. And nothing surprised me on the court because I'm pretty much seeing what I thought I would see from a lot of guys. But I would just say how a Cook has recovered from the Achilles. It's kind of startling. I didn't think at this point that he would be doing the things athletically that he's doing. So that's what I would say.
Just a quick question. Obviously, coaches adapt, and that's what they do day in, day out, game in, game out, minute to minute out of the floor. How has that been for you in these last, say, 4 or 5 days, knowing what's on the horizon for you, Coach?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sean. I think, number one, it's made, practice planning, has been a challenge, and we've written it and then rewritten it a couple times before these first couple days back, and then obviously you have to be adaptable. We've had to pivot. We had to pivot in the first 2 practices because we didn't like how the guys looked physically with the intensity of what we were doing, so we had to scale it back. And then on Saturday they recovered pretty well, so we played a little bit longer with the officials. So it's the hardest. Oftentimes, when you know what your challenge is in life, a lot of times it's a lot easier to deal with because you know what you need to conquer. Uncertainties a lot of times more challenging. So more so, it's just, I think, keeping the group's spirits up, staying connected emotionally to the players because of everything that's gone on since March, beyond the pandemic. So